All right, all right. Good morning. How is everyone doing? Just wanted to drop a little something this AM. Something I've been thinking about for a while. And actually, I was on someone else's channel, Aaron Clary, as who is tagged in this video, and he was talking about some different things to do for colleges and universities, and you know having to hire too many people, et cetera, people having degrees, yada yada. And I had not really a disagreement, but more of a adjustment. Right, the process doesn't take all that much. Right, it takes a lot less. You can get significant effects with um, not a lot of changes, because the changes that have been made that kind of led us here to a society without productive men um, aren't that many. So that's something I want to go over. So we'll start here. Matter of fact, I'll put a link to this in the chat in case you want to check it out. So there's that. Oh, there it is. Make sure we're still good here. Yep, looks good. All right. Actually, let me rewind just a little so you get a flavor for what's going on.
That's a nice corporation you got there. Be too bad if something happened to it. If you
Yeah.
shares are now the United States federal government. We're going to sell them off, and proceeds go to pay off the national debt. Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I thought you were going to hire the meritocratic kid who deserved it, not your child. Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to do. Be running it like the mafia. That's a nice corporation you got there. Be too bad if something happened to it if you didn't stop hiring everyone on a DEI basis. What? Tambor, $2. I can see it now. Master's degree paid in full. We wouldn't have master's degrees. There would be no need for them. There's a need for them now. Well, yes. The issue would that's why I'm saying I would require on the corporations and employers, all employers, corporations or not. You can't require a college degree if it's not necessary. You can't. uh, Watt Tambor.
All right. So my premise is that you just need to get rid of. You just need to get rid of. Let me close this. What is all this? Don't say. All right. So my premise is that you do not need more regulations. You just don't. Right? There's no reason for it. And kind of in the video, he starts talking about um, starts talking about all of these regulations and hey, we're going to incentivize this, that, and the other. And my thing is, it's just not necessary, right? You're not going to. It's not going to get you where you want to go, right? You don't create more bureaucracy, right? You do less of that. Um, Definitely less of it. So, and just like you're always, it's just a different way of picking winners and losers. Like the government, if it picks a winner, it necessarily picks a loser, right? The loser in subsidizing education has been trades, right? And who are the winners? The educational industrial complex. In every state in the union, you've got wealthy university presidents and administrators, and even professors. Some professor who has been teaching for the last 20 years is making bank, right? That at the taxpayer behest, that person has a six-figure retirement in many cases. So it is that is who is winning, right? In which case, the free market, right, is going to have a balanced interest, right? Everybody's got to win a little bit, so everybody's got to give a little bit. You know, the and that's kind of how it works. Like housing is heavily subsidized, right? Section 8, and at the state and federal levels there are other programs, which again creates winners and losers. Winners would be people like myself, property owner. You're driving up the cost of rent, you know. So I'm always keeping up with inflation, no matter what. All this inflation in the news, landlords aren't sweating it. Landlords are just raising rent. What would actually even out the playing field quite a bit is government not subsidizing housing. I would lose money. I mean, just plain and simple. Rents would stay either flat or they would have to go down to accommodate the rebalance of the economy. So, it's everything. Even public sector workers, you say, oh, like that's a no harm thing. No, it's not. No, because now we have no infrastructure. because politically powerful unions just vote themselves more goodies, and now a significant amount of money is diverted away from uh, maintaining everything. And now we've got a crumbling infrastructure, and we've got, yay, lots of pensions to keep paying for. Yay, my goodness. So, hey, good morning, Auntie. How are you? Um, so yeah, and that's just yeah, you're just picking winners and losers, right? So, and then one of the aspects of the economy under Trump that was so good, and something that I was looking for, was there was no bubble. Like, where did the bubble go? And I was looking for it hard. Where is the bubble? I wanted to see it because, honestly, greedily, right? I wanted to invest in it, right? One thing I learned from the housing bubble is ride the bubble. You're trying to get into the bubble as early as possible, ride it out, know that it's coming, right? And prepare for the pop, right? And invest in the pop too. I mean, you're winning twice when everybody else is going to lose. People that got in the bubble early are probably going to be okay. But people that got in at the peak of the bubble, eesh, all right? I just want to get in early, right? And then prepare for the pop. So I went on both ends. That's it. And I didn't see any bubbles, right? Because the main thing were the tax cuts, in which they weren't picking winners and losers. So there weren't any malformations in spending and distribution of that income. And yes, Auntie, I am well. Thank you so much. The baby Friedman as well. Mama Friedman as well. We are all good over here on the Ponderosa. So, yeah, so it actually, and honestly, Trump validated the Democrats' trickle down theory. America handled that cash bubble that was thrown into the economy just fine, and distributed it via the invisible hand, right? So no government interference required. And matter of fact, most government is superfluous. The America you want doesn't have less government per se, it has less bureaucracy, because all the functions that are handled by government can be done with a lot less people, right? I mean, the bureaucracy is the enemy of progress. I mean, heck, post World War II institutions have retarded humanity. If not for race politics and feminism, we could have mastered the solar system by now. Heck, we should be on Mars. Yeah, you can't solve it with more regulation. So, and I want to talk about some of the effects of removing the subsidy. Like, what would happen? You know, what would happen if you remove the subsidy, and the cascading effects thereof. So let's take a look at that. What do you say? All right. Well, now what do we have here? Okay, this is cost for Ohio State. Now, what do we see here for first year students? Right, $13,000 in tuition, now plus $14,738 for housing and food. So you're looking at 28 grand a year, roughly. So 28,000 per year, which is times by 4, 112,000 for a liberal arts degree. To become a teacher at Ohio State is $112,000. God. Now look, if you're just you live in the area, right? You're living at home and you're paying tuition. This isn't bad. You can do this, right? Working part time, right? That's not going to kill you, right? But when you come to the campus, most incoming freshmen, first years on the Columbus campus, are required to live on campus for their first 2 years. So you are going to give that money to the state. They're going to get it, right? They are going to get it. They're going to get their 28 grand, and there's no way around it. Then, as a junior and senior, hey, Winthrop, good morning. As a junior and senior, then you can reduce some of your expenses, get some roommates, etc. Which still, that is highly overpriced. Now, the regional campus, now we're talking 9,488 a year. That is very reasonable. And if you are living at home and not running it up, right, this becomes even more affordable. So as you have to put in, as if you have to get a loan, a free market loan, your ability to pay it back is going to come into question, which is directly related to your major. And liberal arts majors are not going to be loaned a lot of money, right? A mechanical engineering major with a 3.9 GPA, that person's student loan credit worthiness is going to be extremely high, right? That a person with a liberal arts degree who wants to become a teacher and who's got a 2.4 GPA, well, I don't know. You're going to pay a higher interest rate, and you probably are going to be able to borrow as much, and you might have to start paying it back a lot earlier just because you are a higher risk. Can you pay it back? Maybe, but they're not going to bet on it, right? No bank would do that. So, but what's that going to do? Is it going to completely drain these schools? No, right? But to avoid the housing costs, right? You want to get an education, but you want to enjoy, but you don't want to go broke. Well, guess what? I'm going to go to a regional campus or a community college. So what happens if you go to, what are some of these colleges? See, Lima. So, hey, I want to go to Lima instead. I think for my liberal arts education, I can go to Lima instead of Columbus, because Columbus is expensive. Now, what does that do over time? How many more young people are staying in the Lima area versus going to Columbus? All right. How many people are staying in the Findlay area instead of going to Columbus? Right. How many people are staying in Bellefontaine, Sydney, et cetera, Wapakoneta, right? All of these areas, right? These small towns. If you want a shot of steroids to small towns, right? For small town Americana growth, cut federal student loans, period. And the idea that people won't be able to go to college anymore is patently ridiculous. What will happen is the education industrial complex will be subject to the free market, and they will make a lot less money. They will make a lot less money, and liberal arts, just as a sector within getting a degree, is going to shrink dramatically. All right. And where will it pick up? In Lima. Where will it pick up? In Findlay. So if you want to grow small towns, this is how you do it. And it incentivizes people to pick the less options, right? What else will happen? Right? HBCUs will probably grow because HBCUs are, publicly funded, a little less money. And if you can't afford to go to, you can't afford to go to Columbus, well, maybe I'll go to, um, what's that school? Maybe I'll go to Wilberforce. Maybe I'll go to Central State University. Those are down here in Xenia, Ohio, right? You can go to Central State. You can go to Central State, or you can go to Wilberforce. So cutting guaranteed student loans would be a boost in education to Wilberforce and Central State. And here's the thing: if you've got more people who have a cultural and expectation to go to an Ohio State or Ohio University, but it's like, the tuition. Now I don't have that. Where can I go to school? If you have more of those people at Central State, maybe the culture problem at Black colleges fixes itself. You understand? Maybe. Just a thought. So, and what else do? You encourage trades, right? Because now you're shifting, right, interest to small towns. You're shifting interest back to, hey, let me go to a community college in the area and get a certification in welding, CAD, whatever, after high school. And then what else are you doing? You're increasing the amount of employable people in this area, and technical and trained people. So what is that going to attract? It's going to attract more business. You know, um, I mean, it's a lot better than ending up a future barista with $80,000 of school debt. Yeah, it's a heck of a lot better than that. So, and here's the added benefit, right? Women that do not go to college, right, to become, have a I don't know, specialization in what is that, social justice or whatever. That one video we saw recently, I think that was NYU. A bunch of people graduating with useless degrees, right? How much better had they not gone to college at all, got something useful to do, whether it's a dental hygienist or some other, skill that doesn't cost a lot to get into, right? Better that a woman making, $35,000-$40,000 a year with no debt, or a woman who is looking for a job and she's got a master's and can't find work, right? So she's got $80,000+ of school debt, And side note, who are the women who are making all these videos, man? Who are making all the oh, I've got all this debt and I can't get a job. Like, who are these chicks? Like, and they don't seem to be exactly poor, right? So are they're living off their parents or their boyfriend. And I mean, is that woman really a good candidate for marriage? She's already living off her parents or her boyfriend and is 80K in debt and has no useful skills. So you're taking on a woman who you're taking on 80 grand in the hole if you wanted to make her a housewife. I mean, that's hustling backwards at warp speed. At warp speed. And who wants to do that? I don't want to do that. Nobody does. So you have the added benefit now, and also it is an antidote somewhat of social media, right? Because we already know social media is giving women weird dating signals as far as their perceived options for dating and mating, right? So if you're at Ohio State's campus, you're living in frivolity, going to all the parties, doing all this, doing all that, and you have social media on a 65,000 person campus, that can give a woman the impression she's got a lot of options. Well, if she's going to Lima She's under no illusions that she is under no illusion that she is out of options, right? If you're living in this area, right, and you're going to a college with 2,000 people versus, and you're going home to work at night and you're working on the weekend, that is a far different life from, you know, drinking 2, 3 times a week, going to football games and doing all that, all of those wasteful distractions. You know, life comes at you fast. You got to show up to work, you got to pay those bills, etc. It's being an adult while in school versus what much of college has become is just an extended adolescence, and nobody wants that. Well, not that nobody wants that, is that is bad for society, you know, and I don't want that. So, but that too is an added benefit. Now let's see. Darn it. I thought I had this video queued up. But so what's another? Let's see. Oh, and it prevents indoctrination. Like everybody is upset about, you know, all of these all of the indoctrination. Oh, we've got all these terrible shows. Look at the what is that? Look at the acolyte. Oh, it's terrible. Yada yada yada. Well, why does that exist? Right? People we've allowed these to become indoctrination factors, and these people are not um, they're not doing anything weird, right? To them, this is their culture, right? This is how leftism reproduces, right? In college, it's not that, and it's not that we don't know this, right? If you simply stop funding it, it'll stop happening, right? The incompetence hierarchy, right, requires, right? It requires that you allow it to reproduce as it sees fit, right? It doesn't reproduce on its own. They don't have kids. You understand? So what do? You just take away the option. And guess what? And I've seen this. What's weird, it's funny, I've seen this in real life. Like when I used to live in Austin, I was always amazed at the number of people who were lefties, right? They really were lefties, but they said they were libertarian. Like, oh, I'm libertarian now. That's what I am. And I thought, no, you're not, right? You're not libertarian, right? All you did was start lifting weights, and you realize that 400 pounds is 400 pounds, and if you can't deadlift it, you can't deadlift it. And all of a sudden, they just got the realization that objective reality exists, and now it's like, oh, now I'm a libertarian. The other thing is, like, lefties loved beer, right? Lefties make good beer; they just do. And one thing was funny. There was a movie. It was like Beer Wars and all this stuff. And so these lefties start making beer. And when they find out, oh my God, all that anti-regulation talk is real, all of a sudden they became libertarians. They were like, yeah, we just want to brew beer and be left alone. Finally they had something to lose. And it was like, oh, those libertarians aren't crazy. So how do you prevent the indoctrination? Make them pay for it. That's it. Just got to make them pay for it. I mean, there's so many follow-on effects that are what people are actually looking for. And if local schools go boom, right, via not being able to afford Ohio State, then local businesses go boom, right? Where do those kids do their get their real work experience? In the local area, right? Where do they apprentice at? In the local area. So now the local area has a greater supply of workers. Hey, sounds like a good thing to me. Women are less incentive to get BS degrees and accrue debt. Plus, you're putting more people, more men in the area. right? More young men in the area, more young women in the area. That's how you revitalize America. And now you can rebuild the local infrastructure, right? Because you have people there to do it, you know? And the infrastructure is old, man. You got to understand how old it is. The infrastructure is crazy old. Just as an example, give me an example real quick.
Say 1900, 1910, you know, we're starting to build some power lines. Well, they started up in the Michigan area, Detroit, and Tesla came up with Niagara Falls. That was kind of like a pilot project, and it was to feed New York City. And you know, at that time, it was, you know, the most amazing thing ever that we could actually produce power and send it somewhere and everybody be able to use it. Niagara Falls is still in service right now.
Still in service. Niagara Falls is still in service.
Today, it's still working. It's still feeding power, you know, in its limited capacity, but it's still working. And you know, a lot of people was like, well, you know, they don't make things like they used to, and that's really true with the power grid. I mean, the original grid was unbelievable for at the time when it was built. You know, there was a huge boom in it in the '60s, a lot of upgrading and a lot of you know, attempt to, you know, bring it on into the next realm, but you know, the technology and the material and the stuff that we're using now, it will never last as long as what the original stuff that was built. I mean, you know, so for instance,
So we're building a weaker grid.
well, yeah, it's just like, you know, cars. You know, you get a '67 Nova or something, you know, that thing liable to last you 30. You can put a new engine in it. You can work on it.
Yeah.
You know, you go out and buy whatever, a Toyota Camry. When that thing's done, you might as well just roll it off a cliff. It ain't, you know, there's no working on that.
Yeah.
And you know, everything is always, we're going to use something cheaper. You know, we're using cheaper
Planned obsolescence.
insulators. We're going to use cheaper electronics, cheaper poles, steel, whatever, you know, because the overall cost of the project is all that matters. And so, you know, like some of the poles that I showed you this date now that I got out of this pole, and this one is from New Jersey, and this pole, I was there on a storm. I think it was Hurricane Sandy, to change this pole out, and it was inspected and cleared inspection in 1930.
In 1930.
1930.
So 70.
Oh, people don't, man. I don't think people understand how bad the infrastructure is. Right? The infrastructure is bad. And right. And what you need to do is, what as a country we have to do is, we need people to rebuild it, man. AI can't build infrastructure. Right? It just can't do it. So, you know, we need to do it. Right? And this is a boon for men. Right? If men want something to do, right? Men want patriarchy, power in society, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there it is, son. I mean, because it is old. Like there is, where is it here? This is the new power plant in Niagara Falls. And this has been in operation for 63 years. Right. List of, let me see. Now here's the list of power plants in New York. And let me show you this, right? In service date. This is important. In service date. 1908, 1909, 1912. And here, this here is 2017 net energy, right? So it's still producing, right? If it's got numbers in this column, it's still producing. 1913, 1916. You understand? 1920. Like the grid is the grid is old. All our infrastructure is old. I mean, old. So if we want people who can fix it, right? We need people that can fix it. And this is, I mean, the grid is crumbling before our very eyes, right? And I said this in this tweet here, right? This dam, responding to Mr. Guns and Gear, this dam is over 100 years old, as many others around the nation. Do y'all think these types of infrastructure areas will soon become the new normal in America? Right? I said it already is the new normal. I mean, because it is. This is not abnormal. As you've seen, this infrastructure is old. So we need to rebuild it. We need to make it right. And for our nation to prosper, period. So the competence hierarchy has to stop funding the incompetence hierarchy and get it done. Right? I mean, we can't have America as a bunch of dumbed down slobs because they're just going to elect sociopaths. And maybe we do need to restrict some voting rights. Maybe. I mean, and as a side note, maybe because honestly, we're not all in it together. Let me just show you real quick. Where is it? Here it is. So, selective service registration. Federal law requires male students age 18 through 25 to be registered with the Selective Service, unless they are on active duty with the Armed Forces of the United States, non-U.S. citizens on a student visa, or otherwise legally excluded. Ohio residents who are not registered are required by Ohio law to pay the non-resident surcharge. Register with Selective Service within 30 days of your 18th birthday at sss.gov or any post office. So we're not equal. We are not equal. Men and women, that is. Men carry the greater burden in society to maintain it. By law, in a codified fashion, men are pulling the cart. So is it fair that people that aren't pulling the cart are allowed equal privileges as those that are? I don't think so. Just an opinion. Just an opinion. So, yeah, back to the grid. The grid sucks. Infrastructure is terrible. Plenty of dams are collapsing. Like, this is not uncommon. This was a 100-year-old dam. 100-year-old dam. There's called erosion. Crazy, but it happened. And we got to do something. So, how can we address that? We can stop funding the bureaucracy and stop picking winners and losers in the economy. Simply get rid of it, right?
Something in the water over there?
Get rid of it, and then we will have much better results, man. Like, we don't need to overcomplicate it, right? There's too much like bureaucratic thinking. You can't fix the bureaucracy with more bureaucracy. Simply cut it off and allow the invisible hand to take its course, right? We don't want revenge. Beware of people selling you your own frustration, right? The key is less bureaucracy, not more, right? Less regulations, not more regulations to fix behavior that is caused by federal funding of student loans. You get rid of federal funding of student loans. And we're coming into a phase America is coming into a phase in which it really needs to think about what it's doing, right? There is a way to plan for the future and who are you going to be as a country? What is it going to be for this group, that group, or the other group, right? Whatever that is. But it is important to understand that in the next, say, 10 years, we are going to set the template for the next 80 years, right? If you haven't read a book called The Fourth Turning, I highly recommend it. Because it'll go into details for this, but that is what is happening, right? We're 80 years on from the end of World War II, and, America is ready for its next chapter. So, the template for that and how that works is being written right now. So we got to write what we want and not leave it to chance. And, yeah, that's what we got to do. We don't want to chase our tails and, do something stupid like try to, use a Bengal tiger to get rid of mice, right? We just stop feeding the mice and they'll go away on their own. All right. Yeah, that's all I've got. Thanks for coming by this morning. Is Doc Thunder on? Let me see. Yeah, Doc Thunder scheduled for 8:30. So let me put him in the chat. Pass it over to Doc. So that's all I got, man. Thanks for coming through. I greatly appreciate it. Oh, and I got a Cash App last stream. Let me see here. Yep, got a Cash App from Karsten Ferguson. Thank you, sir. I'm assuming that's not your government name. I think that's True Hype. So, hey, appreciate True Hype. Yeah, thanks for coming through. I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks to Aaron Clary for reading my comment. And that's all, right? Stop subsidizing federal student loans, and we'll be on our way to a better future. All right, I am out of here.